Hi, this is Steven from the Green Engineers and welcome to my update video. Today is I think the 15th of March 2020. I don't have my phone to check the date, but I'm going to upload it the same day today anyways. So this update is a decent sized update of my regular 11.25 minute videos. I wanted to give you guys an update because I haven't done so in a little while. We have some new motors to test. If you guys remember, these are my old motors, and if you hear that noise in the background, it's my 3D printer back here behind me. I'm printing a part for an escape room, and so what I did is I just arbitrarily dropped it down to 10% to kind of quiet it down a little bit, but you might hear a little bit of noise back there. I'm going through about 5.5 kilograms of filament over a week, so a lot of printing, big parts. Okay, so these two guys are coming from China, which I don't know if you guys know. If you guys are watching this video later, that's not the best right now, because right now the coronavirus went around Japan from Wuhan, sorry, not Japan, China. Wuhan, China, I think beginning of February 2020, or middle of February 2020. So these came from Shenzhen, China, and I sourced it. It took me about maybe 2 weeks to source it, talk to different suppliers and find one that I liked. And so now we have some here to test, and they should definitely beat this old motor here, the old Harbor Freight one with a gear reduction in it. So these guys got some big old gear reducers in them, as you can see. I would pick them up, but they're super heavy. So also one is already wired, so I'll just take the camcorder and go down on them here. So they have some big gear reducers on them. They're actually two different motors. One is a 150 watt, and this one on the back side, it says 200 watt. These are from the same identical manufacturers, and they have 80:1 gear ratio reduction on them. So they actually have an output RPM of about 17 RPM output on both. And they are extremely torquey. This one I think is rated at about this one's rated at 82. I think it's 82 Newton meters, so about, I think it's like 60 foot-pounds. And this guy's rated at 127 newtons at so about 100 foot-pounds. Oh, when I say newtons, I meant Newton meters. So 127 Newton meters and 82 Newton meters, and again like 60 foot-pounds, and then like 100 foot-pounds. So, but you can see this guy is way bigger than this guy. This guy is more along the line of what I'm thinking. It's still decently heavy. It weighs maybe half, maybe about 10 pounds. This one's about 20 pounds. This one weighs about as much as the shredder does. So very, very heavy and very large compared to the shredder. If you could see here, that's it next to the shredder. But compared to other machines on the market, this is very compact, right? So this is very compact. Most likely this is going to be the go-to guy, but I might have an option to run this big motor. And this is the motor I have wired up to run, and I'll show you later on. So now instead we're probably going to drop this big output gear because we're already really reduced. I think this was like a 6:1 reduction already, and so this guy's already heavily reduced. So most likely what's going to happen as I yank this guy off, this gear motor, this gear, what's most likely going to happen is we're going to use this gear kind of like this, and then we'll have these gears back on the front, right? And when the gear is here, this guy will be mounted as close as possible, where this guy is basically kind of like this. So that guy's going to be kind of like that. And then there's going to be a gear here, and then kind of like a gear on this, but it's going to obviously need to be a little bit bigger. So we're going to have a slight gear reduction. We're looking at about, as far as the design, a 1.4:1 gear reduction. So the output is actually going to be something like 12 RPM under load, or no load. So about 12 RPM already pre-reduced. So that is what we are looking at for the RPM out. So because we have two teeth, so total we're looking at about 20 cuts, 22 cuts a minute about. Because again, we have two teeth. We have a teeth up here and we have teeth on the bottom. So 1 RPM, the teeth will cut twice, right? So if you take our RPM of 11 and double it, that's what we are going to get. So these guys should definitely do the job compared to this guy, especially with that gear reduction. That gear reduction bounces this guy up to like 140 foot-pounds or 145 foot-pounds, and this guy goes up to about 116 foot-pounds, and then whatever that is to Newton meters. So these are going to be extremely torquey, very, very torquey. So I have no doubt that these guys are going to work. And also we are working on overcurrent protection, because these guys do actually have a setup for a reverse circuit. So this blue wire, blue wire. This blue wire right here is actually for reversing direction. So we can just hook up that guy with the overcurrent protection, and instead of clockwise, we'll turn counterclockwise to back the material out, and then try to bite the material again. So that is the planned operation with it. So we already have some electronics. We've already tested some sketches in the Arduino, and we already kind of have the code to do that operation. But we just need to we want to implement the motor running first, and then we'll work on the overcurrent protection. So right now we're working on the design to mount these motors, have two different mounting solutions to mount these motors, and also try to use one gear, but I don't know if this is the exact same position as how this one is, as far as from here to the edge. And then these also, they come with a key. I don't know if you can see, but there's a key in here. This plastic piece is to keep the key from falling out. So we'll probably not have the key and just use the gear motor. I mean, just use have a tooth on the gear, and the gear just slides over that. So that way you don't have to worry about losing the key. So these guys are basically going to be kind of the main use for this particular setup. And we might have to go, depending on what type of mounting solution we use, we might have to make even a little bit bigger gear motor so we can just attach it on the side. We're thinking of an idea to mount it to the front or to the side, but we're still testing those ideas. So it might be mounted to the front, it might be mounted to the side, most likely the side. So we'll have a quarter inch plate in here to the screws on the side, just like this one is. So you can see here there's a bolt here, and then there's a bolt down there. So we'll have something like that, and then we'll have a really big, angle iron, right? Really big angle iron that goes in here, and then mounts this guy up front, like so, right? And then this guy will go over this, and then this guy will pop out, and then the gear attaches on there, and then maybe we're going to see if we could thread the shaft without the key, so that we could hold the gear on there, so the gear doesn't fall out. So that is kind of where we're at. So I received these motors, these really high torque geared motors. I received them about this last weekend, so a couple days ago, and I just received word because of the coronavirus I will be off of my job for 3 weeks. So I have some time to get my buddy to water jet out me some gears and do some mounting solutions here, if I can go to the steel place and get it. Otherwise I'll have to make what I have off of what I have down here on the floor, which I do have a lot of material down here on the floor that I could use. So I should be able to do it either way, whether they're open or not. Okay, so that is pretty much it. I just wanted to update you guys because I see I almost haven't posted an update in a month, and just got these last week, this weekend, a couple days ago. And so other things that are going, we are still working on Multi-Extruder, making that guy open source, and then also this guy. So those are the main two projects that we're working on right now. Once we finish this and we get this guy mounted, then we're going to work on the hopper and the stand, and then finish the Multi-Extruder, and then either go with the filament extruder version 2, the Fill Factory, or the EcoBase 3D printer. Either one will probably work. Most likely it'll be the extruder. Okay, so let's go ahead and start these guys up. As you can see, these guys actually use a starting capacitor. The small guy uses a 25 microfarad, and the big guy I think uses a 40 microfarad. And eventually this guy will be all nicely wired, have nice spades on there, and not be using the wire caps. So let's go ahead and start her up. You'll see it kick when it starts. And so that is the operation there. So extremely high torque motor. And yeah, there's barely any way you're going to be able to stop that. And also there is a fan in the back. And it does start to warm up here in the midsection. But if it's bolted to some steel, it'll drop some of the heat to the shredder. And if the shredder's attached to a hopper and a stand, the hopper most likely will be really thin sheet metal, and that'll kind of act as a heat sink. And it's a decently loud motor, but it's not nearly as loud as a drill motor, so that's pretty nice. And also the fan on the back is pretty nice. So, and I think it's just vibrating this gear. You could hear that when I press the gears. So that's how it normally sounds right there. So really cool. So we'll wire this guy up also, the small guy. But mainly we'll probably start with this guy first, the best case scenario, or we'll see which one we start with. Mount that guy, and then that will be in the next update. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next update. Thanks for watching.